Luis owned one pair of running shoes, old, torn, the soles barely hanging on, but every morning at 6 a.m. he ran, not for medals, not for records, for peace, for breath, for him. People stared, whispered, laughed. "Get new shoes," they said. But they didn't know his story. Those shoes were his father's, passed down before he passed away. The laces were frayed, but the memories were strong. Luis kept running, mile after mile. He trained in rain, wind, even snow. One day, he entered a city race. Everyone else wore high-tech gear. Luis just smiled and ran. He didn't finish first, but he crossed the line with pride. People cheered. Some cried. A reporter asked why he didn't buy new shoes. He answered, "Because these remind me I come from strength." Now Luis teaches kids to run, not for speed, but for purpose. Because sometimes what carries you forward isn't what's new. It's what reminds you where you began. Ava moved to the city to start over. New job, new apartment, no friends. She felt invisible. But every day, on her way to work, she passed a fenced yard. It was filled with flowers, roses, tulips, wild colors in a gray street. She never saw who tended them. One morning, a storm hit. The garden was wrecked, petals scattered, branches broken. Ava stood in the rain, staring. Then she stepped inside. She began cleaning, quietly, carefully. A voice behind her said, "Thank you." An elderly woman stood with a cane. "It was my husband's garden," she said. "He passed last spring." Ava stayed, helped replant, came back the next day, and the next. The garden bloomed again. So did Ava. New roots, new joy, new friendship. Because sometimes healing begins not with fixing your life, but by helping someone else grow theirs. Jamal had a wall in his room, covered in rejection letters, from jobs, colleges, contests. At first, it crushed him. But then he started taping each one to the wall. He called it his fuel. Every morning he'd look at them before he wrote. Because Jamal wanted to be a screenwriter. Everyone told him it was unrealistic. But he kept writing, at night, during breaks, on napkins. One day, a friend showed his script to a small-time director. She liked it, asked to meet him. That short film won a local award, then another, then a grant. At 29, Jamal walked into a studio with a story they wanted to buy. He still has the wall of rejection letters, framed now, because every no brought him closer to a yes. And success doesn't erase failure, it honors it. Elena wasn't the loudest coach. She didn't yell from the sidelines, didn't throw clipboards or scream plays. She observed, listened, waited. Her team was full of underdogs, kids no one picked first. But she saw something else. Patience, grit, kindness. They lost every game the first season, but she told them, You're more than a score. They practiced harder, started trusting one another. In year 2, they made the semi-finals. In year 3, they won. Not just games, confidence, friendships, growth. Elena stood back, let them take the spotlight. When asked about her method, she smiled. I just teach them to believe in who they already are. Now she trains other coaches. Because the best leaders don't shout, they whisper courage until it echoes in others. Milo never had much growing up. No internet, no cable, just a worn-out library card his mother gave him. Every Saturday, he'd walk 20 minutes to the local library. Rain or shine, he'd sit in the back corner and read everything he could find. Fantasy, science, biographies. The books made him feel big, even when the world felt small. At school, he was quiet, awkward, but his mind was racing with ideas no one saw. One day, a librarian noticed. She handed him a book on writing, said, "You have stories in your eyes." He read it cover to cover, twice, started writing after school, short paragraphs, then pages, then chapters. By 18, he had written his first novel. It was rejected, then again, and again. But he kept going. At 23, a small publisher said yes. Now Milo signs books in libraries across the country. Always starts his speeches the same way. I'm not here because I had everything. I'm here because I had one thing. Access to stories and someone who believed I could write my own.